Right, it is Tuesday, February 20th. It's the Brainerd City Council, and I call the meeting to order. Tony, can you please call the roll?
Terry. Stingline.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Chesak.
Here.
O'Day.
Here.
Stunek.
Here.
Bevins.
Here.
Badeau.
Here.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, item 4 is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So move.
Motion by, you were gonna second them. Second them means second. Okay, we have a motion by Stunek, a second by Johnson. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Item 5 is the consent calendar. A notice to the public that all matters listed are considered routine by the council and will be enacted by one motion. There'll be no separate discussion of these items unless good cause is shown prior to the time the council votes on the motion to be adopted by roll call. Mr. Chesak.
Yes, I'd like to pull the minutes from our last meeting to discuss following our approval of the consent calendar.
Perfect. Is there any other discussion on the consent calendar? Hearing none, we'll look for a motion to adopt the consent calendar as requested by, as amended by Mr. Chesak.
So moved.
Motion by Johnson, second by O'Day. Any discussion, Mr. Johnson?
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't think it warrants pulling it off, but I just want clarification from staff. It says St. Joseph's Catholic Church for an event to be held at the Northern Pacific Center. Is that, where's St. Joseph's Catholic Church?
Crosby.
Oh, fun.
Thank you. Thank you. Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, Tony, can you call the roll?
Stingline.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Chesak.
Yes.
O'Day.
Yes.
Stunek.
Yes.
Bevins.
Yes, the amended consent calendar is adopted. Mr. Chesak, on the minutes.
Yes, there's 3 items. First one is, or Mr. O'Day has stated here when talking about the short-term rental, it's stated that he said he will be voting against the ordinance. That is not what he said. He said he'll be voting, he is not in favor of voting against the ordinance to bring it back again. So that needs to be corrected. The other item is, where my comments, it said the RFP was posted for the bus on January 30th. It's actually February 3rd, I said. And then the next item is I requested, this is for Mr. Johnson's motion to have their P&F meeting. It states here that I requested that the notice be given is a legal notice. I asked that it be given in the agenda section of the newspaper, which is a big difference. So if those 3 could be corrected, I'd be.
Any comments
Changes.
or concerns with those corrections as suggested by Alderman Chesak? Hearing none, we'll look for a motion to accept the corrected minutes as suggested by Mr. Chesak.
Motion to approve the changes.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by O'Day. Any discussion? Hearing none, being this part of the consent calendar, Tony, can you call the roll?
Stingline.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Chesak.
Yes.
O'Day.
Yep.
Stunek.
Yes.
Bevins.
Yes, the corrected minutes are accepted. Next up is item 6, council committee reports. Item 6A, Personnel and Finance Committee Chairman Gabe Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have 6 items tonight, the first of which is to consider a policy for donating of surplus equipment to a nonprofit organization. The motion is to approve the draft policy as presented with $5,000 as the fair market value amount, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion by Johnson, a second by Stunek. Chairman Johnson.
At a recent park board meeting, they talked about all of the baseball supplies and whatnot of programming we used to run and we don't run anymore. And they voted to donate the supplies. But apparently we need, by state statute, we need to have a city policy on how supplies are donated and that they're posted publicly so any organization that wants to receive them can apply and has to be approved by the council. But we didn't have the policy. This is that policy.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Chesak.
is the 5,000 the limit then before, once it reaches that, the city administrator, we have to then approve it. Anything less than that, the city administrator can,
That's where I set that, yes.
okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Thank you. Please proceed.
Thank you. Next up is a job description. And the motion is to approve the sewer lead job description as presented, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion by Johnson, a second by Stunek. Chairman Johnson?
As is stated in the packet, based on the Flaherty and Hood classification compensation study, they thought the sewer lead should be pulled off of the maintenance 3 position because the sewer lead does require a specific license and is fully responsible for overseeing the vac truck. So we created a different job for that, a different position, job class than maintenance 3.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. This one is a good one, and we got 2 items to vote on here. The first one is a motion to approve the attached 24 through 26 tentative agreement summary between the city and IUOE Local Number 49 Union representing the street division employees. And I so move.
We have a motion by Johnson, a second by Stunek. Chairman Johnson?
So this is good. We've come to a tentative agreement on a 3-year contract with the street union, and negotiations were very productive, and we're glad to see this being almost done.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Mr. President. Could-
Jeff Jozek?
Could I, what's the tentativeness here?
Patrick?
I'm sorry, what's the question?
Well, he said a tentative agreement.
Until you guys approve it, then it's tentative. When you approve it, it's approved.
Very clear there.
Any further discussion? Okay, this is a resolution, I believe.
No, this is just the motion
This
for
is
the
just the
agreement.
motion?
Next is
Okay,
resolution.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Tentatively.
That motion carries.
That is no longer tentative, all right. Now, the second action on this item is to adopt the attached resolution setting the IUOE Local 49 Street Division wages for 2024 through 2026, and I move approval.
Second.
We have a motion by Johnson, a second by Stunek. Any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none. Tony, can you please call the roll?
Stingline?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Chesak?
Yes?
O'Day?
Yes.
Stunek?
Yep.
Bevins?
Yes, that resolution is adopted. Please proceed.
Okay, the next motion is regarding a union grievance, and the motion is to approve the MOA between the City of Brainerd and the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers Union, Local Number 31, resolving IBEW grievance number 2023-4 regarding the reclassification of Ryan Miller as presented, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion by Johnson, a second by Stunek. Chairman Johnson.
The grievance was about placement going from an apprentice lineman to the journeyman line and where the placement on the grid is. The union thought it should have been 5. We placed him at 4. We're agreeing to put him on 5 and give him back wages, but we are clarifying for future times that the BPU employees will also follow the employee policy manual now going forward.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none? Hearing none? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Please proceed.
Okay, this one we didn't vote on, I don't think. This is just Patrick volunteered, well, I think we should vote here, I guess.
Yeah.
Patrick Wassow has volunteered to continue to represent Brainerd on the negotiating team for our union negotiations until we get this Flaherty and Hood recommendation implemented, and he's willing to do it as a volunteer. So the motion is to appoint Patrick Wassow to the City of Brainerd Union Negotiation Team effective until the Flaherty and Hood wage grid is adopted system-wide, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion by Johnson, a second by Stunek. Chairman Johnson.
I'm really grateful Patrick's willing to do this. I think it would be great continuity for the team and for the unions we've been negotiating with since October, so I hope we all approve this.
Thank you. I have one question. Will Nick be part of that as well, just so he can learn?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Please proceed.
Okay, and the final motion we have out of committee is a motion to increase the city's payment to GMP Consulting to $20,000 for our recent city administrator search, and to take the extra needed money out of the council special project fund, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion by Johnson, a second by Stunek. Chairman Johnson?
This is a little bit of miscommunication. We thought it was a contract not to exceed $16,500. It turned out it was $16,500 plus some expenses they incurred. Patrick came up with a solution to kind of meet in the middle and compromise. The final billing was going to be over 20, but they're going to eat the rest of the costs. We're going to pay 20, and that way Sourcewell covers half of our 20, which is 10. So it's going to cost us an additional $1,750 that we didn't think we were going to be spending. But it's a good compromise.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
President Bevins?
Yes, Mr.
Did we get
Chesney.
confirmation from Sourcewell on that contribution? Or is that still in the works?
It was confirmed last fall that they do up to 20. Patrick?
It's an annual program that they operate. It's from July to June, and every community that participates is allowed one time. This would be our one time, up to the $10,000.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Anything else?
No,
Mr.
end of
Chair?
report.
Thank you. Next up, 6B, Safety and Public Works, Chairman Committee, Mike O'Day.
Thank you, Mr. President. Safety and Public Works had 6 items tonight as well. First item was event street closure application for the St. Patrick's Day celebration and parade. Motion coming out of committee was to recommend approval of the attached application under the conditions as described in the event application, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion by O'Day, a second by Stengline. Any discussion? Mr. Chair?
This is the annual St. Patrick's Day celebration downtown Brainerd. We have some street closures that the police department helps out with from 11:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. This year it'll be on March 16th, 2024. And the mayor's name is on the application if he wants to add anything.
I mean, I most certainly can. This is just the 24th annual of this event, so we're coming up on the big one next year. Pretty much the same thing as it has been, parade, costume contest, some activities for the kids. It's really meant to be something for local people. Come, have fun with your families, a nice, safe environment. And last year was a hoot. We had a lot of snow.
Yeah.
Year before that, it was cold, so I'll take snow over cold. Looks like this year it's gonna be just nothing but green grass. Green grass and clovers, right? So,
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries.
All right, thank you,
Please
Mr. President. Second item tonight was the approval of Brainerd Restoration's downtown welcome bench. Motion coming out of committee was to recommend the approval of the drawings as presented and work with Brainerd Restoration on installing the bench this spring. I so move.
We have a motion by O'Day, a second by Stengline. Any discussion? Mr. Chair?
I can just mention, we sent back some requests to make some small changes. The changes were made. I think everything was accounted for that we had spoke in our discussion with. You can see the picture right there. We do have Jamie Beezer here from Widseth, if anybody has questions for him. Otherwise, we'll move ahead.
Any questions of staff? Hearing none. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Item number 3 was approval of plans and specs and authorization of bidding for improvement 2315 and 2317 for Evergreen Avenue and Bluff Avenue rehabilitation. Motion coming out of committee was to recommend those plans and specifications as presented and authorize that bidding for those projects, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion by O'Day, a second by Chesak. Any discussion? Mr. Chair?
Yeah, this was originally going to be a mill and overlay, I believe, just a resurfacing project, which would have required us to do a lot of ADA work with our sidewalks adjacent. We've chosen to move into a more of a large patching and what's the other word you use? Seal coat. Large patch and seal coat on this project. Hopefully it'll buy us another 10 years until we have to revisit anything that's going on underneath or with the sidewalks.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Mr. President?
Councilman Chesak?
Yes, I am very grateful this has turned out this way because I'm concerned about our infrastructure needs that we have that would not have been addressed and are still not going to be addressed, but instead of doing a more costly project, I'm happy we're doing it this way. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, do we have a dollars and cents savings on this
Dean?
change?
I don't know if there's so much savings before you look into ADA stuff, but
To
Not at
add,
this time.
to add the ADA pieces, you're looking at probably at least another 25,000, if not more.
Over what we bid for the mill and overlay.
Correct. That would just
Okay.
be a couple ramps and additional sidewalks.
So it's quite a bit of dollars in the ADA stuff.
Correct.
All right. Thank you. Any further discussion?
Mr. President?
Mr. Chiswick?
The one thing though is with the infrastructure that's aged underneath that, it's gonna require more than a mill and overlay to do this right. So that's my biggest concern or satisfaction why it's going this direction. Just to emphasize that.
Thanks. I was just hoping that, being that we weren't doing the mill and overlay, that we were just patching, that we'd save money. But then adding the ADA stuff is, let's hope the ADA stuff doesn't change in the next 10 years like it always does.
Okay?
So otherwise we can rip up everything we do next year. Yes, Mr. Dean.
Can I just clarify? That's why we went away from the resurfacing, so we don't have to redo those ADA ramps and sidewalks with this project.
I've been on this council when the ADA changed stuff in less than a year. So 10 years, we'll see.
Might need
Any
an
further
escalator.
discussion?
we might need an escalator in 10.
Might need an escalator.
Never know.
Hearing none. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Please proceed.
President, number 4 was a contract for the Historic Water Tower Rehabilitation Phase 2 project. Motion coming out of committee in the end was to remove the stair sandblasting from the scope of work and award the contract to High Tech Construction with the adjusted scope of work and allocate approximately $40,000 in additional capital dollars to account for the difference, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion by O'Day, a second by Stingline. Any discussion? Mr. Chair?
I'll just say the bids came in higher than expected. We have $200,000 in ARPA funds, $235,000 altogether set aside. We have to use those funds by the end of the year. We're going to try to get as much done with those funds as possible. The stairs being at roughly $160,000 to rehab those stairs has a lot to do with why the outside is expensive too. It's scaffolding. So knocking that out and maybe adding that back in at a later date with some grant dollars is kind of hopefully what we're going to go for in the future.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Chairman Johnson?
Yeah, I'm not happy to see this. You know, we set aside $300,000 and formed a committee to fundraise the rest, and they expended the 300. They gave them another 200. Now they're asking for another 40, and we're still not even close to done with fixing the water tower. So I'll reluctantly vote yes, because it's only another 40,000 after 500,000, but eventually my patience will run up with this. So just expressing my displeasure.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. I agree. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Item number 5 was a discussion on Trunk Highway 210 Washington Street reconstruction street lighting layout. Motion coming out of committee was to go with lighting alternative number 2, including two lights at each intersection, staggered spacing across the street. This is currently represented in the central Brainerd on Highway 210. I so move.
Second.
Motion by O'Day, second by Stingline. Any discussion? Mr. Chair?
I'll just mention that the engineer wanted to look at improving safety for both pedestrians and motorists, possibly adding more lights per intersection. In the end, it wasn't cost-effective to add that many lights. So to keep it uniform as much as possible going through the district, there will be extra lights where there are marked crossings and light signals, which is the main safety feature that we want. So otherwise, it's going to stay a lot like it is, just with more decorative lighting.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Our last item was denial of a secondhand auto dealer license for Tower Motors. Motion coming out of committee was to go with staff's recommendation of denial and deny the secondhand auto dealer's license for Tower Motors, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by O'Day, second by Stingline. Any discussion? Mr. Chair.
Yeah, as you guys probably saw in your packet, we have a history of violations here in late tax payments for car sales, zoning code violations, multiple, one after another. And we have two separate fire inspections, one in 2023, one in 2024, with at least 10 failures on those each. So kind of a history of this over the last couple of years. Staff was recommending that we deny, and in discussion, we decided to go with the recommendation.
Thank you. Any further discussion? I have one question. Have they been brought up to where they're at now financially on paying?
After the last application, it was, I don't know if there's a month late now, but when they turned the application in, they did update their taxes.
Perfect.
They paid 6 months at one time when
Okay.
they submitted the application fee.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Please proceed.
End of report.
Thank you. Item 7 is unfinished business. 7A is a call for applicants. I'll turn it over to Mayor Bedell.
Oh, before we do a call for applicants, I have a recommendation for the PUC. It's a TAD, but it's not the same TAD. So we're triple TAD, a triple TAD.
Pat Johnson.
But the mayor is recommending one Tad Erickson to the PUC.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Chesak. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of Tad Erickson, not Johnson, and Johnson, actually, on the public utilities, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Please proceed.
I promise to bring him back next time as well. We have the following positions available on the following committees. You can check those out on our website. Charter Commission, 2 terms expiring 2026, 2 terms expiring 2025. HRA, 1 term expiring 2029. Parks and Rec, 1 term expiring 2029. TAC, 3 terms expiring 2026. We also have 1 term on the EDA expiring 2026.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. And as council president, I have 2 terms available on the Parking Commission. 1 term expires in 2026. 1 term expires in 2028. And if there's anything more exciting than getting together with a group of your peers and complaining about parking, you got to get on this committee. I can't believe we haven't filled these 2 spots yet.
Disband it.
They're going to meet with the cable advisory committee. Next up is 7, unfinished business B, a final reading of proposed ordinance 1561, short-term rentals. I believe this is probably Mr. Kramvik. Anything you'd like to add to what's in our packet?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. So City Council reviewed proposed ordinance 1561 and conducted the first reading at the last meeting. There were concerns from City Council regarding the municipal cap section, the number of short-term rentals a property owner is allowed to own in Brainerd, whether existing short-term rentals should be grandfathered in perpetuity, and whether or not the Main Street or Town Center districts should be exempted from the municipal caps. So there was some discussion with this. Staff did include the municipal cap section in the agenda request for council review. So with that, staff did list a couple options for City Council to consider. First option would be for City Council to direct proposed ordinance 1561 back to the Planning Commission with specific recommended changes. Second would be to conduct the final reading of proposed ordinance 1561 and approve or deny the ordinance. So with that, staff does recommend motion to conduct the final reading of proposed ordinance 1561 and to dispense with the actual reading and approve proposed ordinance 1561, and I can answer any questions.
Any questions of staff? Any questions of staff? What was the change that they made? It was on the grandfathering end?
Yep, so they, Planning Commission did review concerns from City Council, ultimately decided to grandfather 3 properties in based on the current language, and they would be grandfathered in perpetuity as long as they continue to reapply for the interim use permit.
And all the other limitations were as is.
Yep.
All right, any further questions of staff? Hearing none, anybody care to make a motion on this? We're looking for, if you wish to approve the ordinance, we would look for a motion to hold the final reading and dispense with the actual reading, which must be unanimous.
So moved.
Motion by Stunek, second by Stengline. Any discussion? Hearing none, this is only on the third reading, so go ahead.
On the third reading, what do you,
The second reading.
oh, it's only on the reading.
Yeah, it's only on the reading of the ordinance. Just thought I'd.
Save it. I'll save it.
Bless your heart.
If you want it read to you, vote no.
Any further discussion on this is just the final reading of the ordinance and dispensing with the actual reading? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion passes unanimously. Second part would be a motion to approve the proposed ordinance 1561, and we're looking for a motion as such.
So moved.
Motion by Stengline,
Second.
second by Stunek. Now we'll discuss the adoption of the ordinance. Mr. O'Day?
Yeah, 2 weeks ago, I said I would not vote no on this one, based on my dislike for the fact that we did not exclude the town center. I still feel very strongly that we need to exclude the town center on this ordinance and open it up for short-term rentals. The excuse was that that's where our low-income housing is, and I think we have plenty of low-income housing in other areas as well. And we can still have that, it's up to the owners, but I think that in that discussion, that's where this ordinance loses me. I think after I said that and heard from some of the other councilmen that there were other problems, limiting it to 20 or only 3 per owner, I can see where they're coming from on that too. So maybe we're opening this thing up being a little too restrictive in my opinion, and I'll vote no.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Chairman Johnson?
Yeah, I said last time a no vote. I'm still a no vote. I don't like the cap of 1. I don't like the grandfather clause of 1 person gets to have 3. The cap of 20, I suppose, is all right. I agree with Alderman O'Day that we should really consider opening up the downtown district. So I'm just, for those reasons, I don't think this is improving on the current ordinance.
Thank you. Alderman Stengline?
I support, obviously, the ordinance. I think if somebody wanted to open up a hotel and have, that structure in place, that'd be great in our downtown area. But that kind of piecemeal short-term rental approach, I don't think is a good fit for our downtown in large quantities. This entire thing is meant to be actually more restrictive than where we want to be. We want to have it more restrictive now because then we can loosen up. It's a lot easier to loosen up in ways that we decide we can moving forward or that are right for us than it is to put the toothpaste back in the tube. So this is not meant to be a permanent forever. This is our plan for short-term rentals. It's meant to put some blocks in place and then give us the tools to adjust as needed as time moves on.
Thank you. Mr. Tizick?
Yes, thank you, President Bevins. I stated, I'll kind of repeat what I said. I think the limitation of 1 per person, I understand the grandfather. I was in favor of that because the individual had 3 already. We'd just be penalizing them for something they were doing in good faith. So that's why the grandfather's there. Restricting it to 1 going forward makes absolutely no sense to me. Having a cap of 20 is simply an arbitrary number that somebody came up with and was agreed upon. I think we're trying to stop a problem before it actually occurs. It's not a problem now. There were 6 when this all started being discussed, and now there's 8. I think there's many reasons why we should just let people do more with their property as they feel is best for them. I'll be voting on the ordinance.
Thank you. I'm gonna vote yes. I think Alderman Stengline, with the toothpaste in the tube thing, I thought it was Tom Cruise was gonna come by all our housing was the problem, but I like the toothpaste back in the tube thing. I understand that there are some restrictions in this that are questioned, but I also think Alderman Stengline brings up a good point, and that's that we have to start somewhere. And this is a pretty good place to start. We can always reevaluate in 6 months, in a year, if we want to change the geography, if we want to change the numbers. But if we don't do anything, I think it's quite possible that we might have toothpaste all over the place. So, hearing no further discussion, Chief, you're the only one who hasn't spoke.
I'm all good.
All right, Tony, you ready to call the roll? The motion is in favor.
Stingline?
Yes.
Johnson?
No.
Chezak?
No.
O'Day?
No.
Stunek?
Yes.
Bevins?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
James, what happens if we do not approve this, we are just continuing to operate as we are currently operating?
So that'd be correct. So right now it is an interim use permit, so there still is a planning commission and council review of them. There'd be no cap. That's probably one of the bigger ones. Also, a lot of our interim use permits right now have an expiration date. Some of them do not. This would make all of them have expiration dates. And then the other option would be to, which I put in here, to give planning commission specific recommendations for change. It should go back to the planning commission because they are the ones that would or should conduct the public hearing for any zoning code changes.
All right, so my problem with it is nothing changed. So you can say we're going to make changes all we want, but every time we've said there are things that we don't like, it comes back and looks exactly the same. There are things in this that I really like. There are things in this that I don't like. And I like that we're being restrictive, but I don't know. I honestly don't know. I don't know how I feel about this. I'm going to vote no.
Okay.
But I'm going to vote no simply because I don't think this is the right way to take this.
Motion fails.
President Bevins?
Can I have you hang on just 1 second?
Rob?
I don't think we should send it back to planning and zoning at all. We sent it back twice with no recommendations outside of no recommended changes outside of the grandfathered in. No, not yet. You don't get to. You got to write the memo. Jeff Chesak gets to be next. If we send it back there again with no specific requests, they're well within their rights to send it back again with no specific changes. So I think at this point, if we're going to have a short-term rental ordinance, let's fix it here. You've got great basis for one here, but if you want to change it, well, then suggest changes to Mr. Kramvik and he'll do it. To send it back to them isn't fair to them. They've asked us, give us the specific changes, and we haven't done it. Well, we did the one with the grandfathered in.
Yep.
Thank you. Mr. Chesak, you're next, and then Mr. Kramvik.
Yeah, I was going to propose that we keep the interim use permit recertification, I believe it is, at the end of the year for each of these, December 31st, and then have the cap taken off, and then have the single use or single IUP for, eliminate that.
So they can have as many as they want, and the total number, okay? Are you making that motion right
I
now?
make that as a motion.
Perfect. Let's see if there's a second. I'll ask a second time. Is there a second?
Second that.
All right. So Mr. Chesak has made a motion. Just a quick ask of either our community development director or our city attorney. Is this something we can do now? I mean, that wasn't, is this a change we could make after not having read the first or second of this new ordinance?
No, it needs to go back.
Needs to come back and show up on the agenda as, okay. If I may suggest, Mr. Chesak, that your motion include that we bring this back to the agenda in 2 weeks.
That's be part of my motion, thank you.
Does that satisfy you, Mr. Attorney? It's gotta go back to them.
Okay.
Okay,
Send it
so
back.
you're sending it back to them with those two changes, Mr. Johnson, is that acceptable? So I'm-
Well, one's not a change, but one's a, keep the end date of December.
Yeah, keep the end date with the, there's three changes. One is a confirmation of keeping the end date.
Yep.
And the second is to
No cap
no cap and no limitation.
on the individual, right?
So then the grandfather thing becomes nothing? All right. Now, we're gonna discuss that motion, which is to send it back to planning and zoning, as much as I didn't like that. But I like the fact that there's specific recommendations. Any discussion on those, Mr. Cheswick's motion? Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Goes back to planning and zoning. Okay. Next up is item 8, new business. Item 8A is a public hearing and resolution adoption ordering approving plans and specifications and authorizing advertisement for bid for improvement 24-05 South Brainerd Alley resurfacing project. Jesse Dean, is this you?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair.
Anything you'd like to add to what's in our packet?
I'd just like to highlight that staff's estimating the assessment portion of the project to be about $49,000 or approximately $25 per front foot. BPU staff had requested feedback from the commission and they were supportive of the project, including replacement of the water main in the project. Staff recommends holding the public hearing and adopting the attached resolution that orders the improvement, approves plans, and authorizes bidding.
Thank you. Any questions of staff?
Mr. President?
Mr. Cheswick?
Mr. Dean, did you get the BPU's estimate for the water on this one, the water main? I didn't see that in your response to my email.
It was included in the feasibility study. Hang on just a moment here, please.
Did you ask to hang on?
Yeah,
Missed that.
he's trying to look it up.
Okay.
Roughly about 140,000, but that was replacement as is currently. After discussing with BPU staff, there are a few additional services they'd like to install because some of the existing ones kind of go underneath a garage or really close to a garage. So they'd want to install a secondary service so that there would be a new place to connect, as well as cleaning up some other tie-in pieces on Ronald Street. So it'd be a little bit higher than that 140,000 as shown in the feasibility report.
Okay, then have we coordinated pretty hand to glove with the PPU on this so it all works out with the street repair and replacement? And I'm just concerned that we want to make sure we got everybody on board, and is that the way you see it? It's all working together pretty good, do you think?
It would be my opinion that yes.
Okay, because I mean, this is one thing that it kind of got sprung on us, as we know. It was a petition, and is there any requirement that we have to say, could we hold off on this based on the petition process if we wanted to wait, say, till next year for this?
That's up to the city council if they don't want to do this project this year, or if they want to do it at a future year. The challenge that I would have is the advantageous part that we have a nearby contractor doing similar work. You get some cost savings from the mobilization by having them nearby. Not that they would necessarily win the bid, but that's an opportunity for us. Pushing it to next year, you lose that advantage. And then the fact that the residents had petitioned for the resurface this year.
Okay, so with this water line inventory service line for the city, for the public utilities, and for the property owners with the galvanized, I understand there are a number of galvanized service lines that property owners have, and could they potentially be coming, can the government tell these people to replace those lines? I still don't understand this process like I would want to. I understand they're galvanized, they need to be replaced. If that's going to be a requirement, say 2-3 years down the road, are we just potentially putting this street in, this alley, this infrastructure, this roadway, and then perhaps coming back and tearing it up in a couple of years based on this need to replace these galvanized water lines?
So with this project, we would replace the service lines out to about the right-of-way as close as we can. Like I mentioned, there's about 3 services that go underneath the garage. We would relocate a secondary service for those. And when the property owners are ready to do their replacement, they'd be able to connect in with little or no impact to the alley work that we did.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions of staff?
I have one quick one, I guess.
Yeah, sure. Chairman O'Day.
The sewer that's 20 feet below the surface, what, is that something that used to be common, or, and if that's kind of one of the obstacles, would it make sense to just run sewer 10 feet deep, or however deep we normally run it instead?
Sometimes it depends on what's upstream. That dictates a lot of the depth there. It's not common to have a lot of 20-foot depth, but we have a lot of 20-foot depth throughout town. Typically, we're around 7 to 8, but it all depends on how much is upstream and how far you're connecting. It's all gravity, so.
Thank you.
Any further questions of staff? All right, hearing none, we're gonna hold the public hearing first, Mr. Dean, this evening. Okay, it is 8:10, and I will open the public hearing on improvements 24-05, the South Brainerd Alley resurfacing project, which, as you just heard, includes utilities. Anybody who wishes to speak on this project, please come forward, state your name and address, and tell us what you think. Please, it's perfect timing.
I'm here.
Yeah. Us too.
My name's Tony Whipple. I live at 606 Ronald Street, so my backyard runs to the alley there. And was curious if this project does go through, what kind of time frame are we talking about that'll be torn up? Because it's been torn up multiple times before. That's it.
This summer, 2025?
Ideally, it would line up pretty close with this year's reconstruction project, but we haven't bid it, so we don't know who the contractor would be for sure.
So it could be a ways away yet.
To be determined.
It would be this, we would scope it out to end this year.
Okay.
All right, do you like the project?
I like the idea of it being a nice surface there, but the beat up surface does slow down the traffic that likes to run through there, so I don't know if speed bumps are a possibility or not, but.
Yeah, I hear you. Thanks for coming. Anybody else who wishes to speak on the alley project?
If there's no one else, I have an email.
Okay, one more time, I'll ask a third time. And anybody else, anybody online who wishes to speak, you would hit *3 on your keyboard, and that'll notify us that you wish to speak. Mr. Chairman O'Day has a email that he received he'd like to make.
I did.
Record.
The individual that put the petition together, Steve Smolke, he's one of the residents along the alley, sent me a email today saying he couldn't make it, but he did understand the project was likely to go through with replacement of the water main. He was in favor of it. I'm not saying he's representing the rest of the people on the petition, and neither was he, but I'm just paraphrasing his email that he was in support.
Thank you very
I
much.
received the same thing.
Thank you. Hearing no further requests, I will close the public hearing on improvement 24-05, the South Brainerd Alley resurfacing project, and look for a motion to adopt the resolution ordering the improvement,
So move.
Second.
approving plans and specs, and authorizing advertisement for bid. Motion by
Me.
Stunek in first place, and second by Johnson.
I gotta
Any
be
dis-
on the ball.
You are. Any discussion, comments? Hearing none, Tony, can you call the roll?
Stengline?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Chezak?
Yes.
O'Day?
Yes.
Stunek?
Yes.
Bevins?
Yes. When would the bid opening be, Mr. Dan, so we can let people know if it'd be done?
We got to finalize some final details in the plan, so I can't say exactly what the
Can't
date
say
would
yet,
be.
but it'll be this spring, yes?
Correct. Our intention is to get something probably first meeting of April if we can.
Just so people can kind of plan ahead. Next up is item 9, the public forum, time allocated for citizens. What's that? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Thank you very much, Chairman Johnson. This is the one I tried to cut off the agenda initially. Apparently we're just not gonna do this one. Discussion of posting, personnel and finance video recordings on YouTube. This is Mr. Chesak.
Yes, Mr. President Bevins, I don't have any trouble with the PNF meeting. Obviously, that's their prerogative. I like it, actually, and I think it gives them more time to do without being rushed out of the time frame. But we haven't been posting their meetings on YouTube because since the change, and I'm very disappointed in that because we have been doing that for all of our meetings for the most part for years. And if you read my email, I am confused though because the agenda request from Interim Administrator Wasso says that this was planned as a more of an informal meeting and no action. And I believe you all, maybe Chair Johnson could opine, but as far as I know, all of your meetings have been conducted just as they always have been, whether you've met right before the council meeting or on Wednesday prior to the council meeting. Is that correct?
No, we've met up here instead of the second floor conference room. Otherwise, yes.
I mean, as far as there's no informal.
Yeah, we go over the agenda, we vote, we review the information, yeah.
All your recommendations are the same, yeah. So I
They're
was,
better every time.
I was a little confused at reading that it seemed like everything was status quo as far as how they were operating. So I would just ask that we put the meetings that have been conducted, if they are already been recorded on video, to place them on YouTube like we've been doing prior to the change to, prior to the council meeting the Wednesday before. And then continue to do that as they have their meetings. So that would be a motion if I could, unless there's.
You absolutely can. It's an agenda
I would
item.
make that motion then.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion by Chesak, second by O'Day. Can you give the synopsis version of that?
The motion?
Yes, please.
Yeah, just to take the previous meetings that have not been put on YouTube, put them on YouTube, and then continue to record them and put them on YouTube as they've been done in the past.
Thank you. Any discussion? Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, I just want to say that I fully support this. I think especially because it is the Personnel and Finance Committee, it is in our best interest to make sure that that is readily available for the public to consume.
Perfect. Chairman Johnson?
Yeah, I fully support this too. I've long pushed for, it took me years of fighting to get the cable channel back. I do think all of our city commissions should be, and our city council committee meetings should be available for the citizens to watch, including every single commission of the city.
Get our $750K back?
Working on it.
President Bevins?
Yes, Mr. Chesak?
In the agenda request, Administrator Wusso had indicated that he wanted direction for all standing committees. I guess I'd ask, would that, this motion then apply to your question and that for the recommendation?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, let the record show that all standing committees. Now, let's go over to the guy who has to actually make it happen before we vote. Mr. Strong, GIS IT Director.
Yes, Mr. President, I'm curious if this would also include all the cable cast and other streaming platforms, or if we're just talking about YouTube at this time.
This motion and this agenda item talks about YouTube.
Okay.
Now, it doesn't mean it won't come. Is there a comment about the other platforms?
Well, historically, we replay the meetings for the week after they actually happened on all the other streaming platforms, and I'm just wondering if you want this one included in that too.
Mr. Chesak?
I would include that in my motion.
Mr. Johnson?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Yes.
So treat it as the same, okay.
All right. Any further discussion? Thank you, Mr. Strong.
Thank you.
Not on the water tower.
Project them.
All right, project. Hearing no serious discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. The motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Chesak.
Thank you.
Item 9 is public forum, time allocated for citizens to bring matters not on the agenda to the attention of the council. We'd like to have you keep it to 3 to 5 minutes. So if we haven't talked about it tonight and you've got something you'd like to say, come on up, give me your name and your address, and let us have it. If you're online, *3 lets us know that you'd like to speak. I'll ask a second time, and a third and final time, and we will close the public forum. Next up is staff reports. We'll start on my right over to the police department. Anything to add?
Nothing to report.
Thanks for coming. ITGIS Director Strong?
Nothing tonight.
How about from the Finance Department? City Engineer, Public Works Director, that was a nonverbal nod by the Finance Director.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Negative. Yes.
Park Board is meeting next week with a large agenda. One of the main items is the discussion regarding the ski loons. They're going to be having a public hearing to hear from residents as well as the ski loons with proposed facets for a potential future agreement between the city and the ski loons.
Thank you. Community Development Director Kramvik?
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a couple items here. So the last EDA meeting, as discussed, the website is going to be going online. End of February, the promotional video that Visit Brainerd has been working on. Also, the EDA entered into a brokerage agreement to begin marketing the Brainerd industrial properties. The upcoming Planning Commission meeting will be conducting a public hearing for the proposed administrative subdivision ordinance. And we'll also begin discussion on the parameters of cannabis dispensaries and how that would fit into the zoning code.
Thank you. Anything from the Attorney's Department outside of the fact that we're going to hear from you tonight, I say, later tonight, I presume?
Correct, sir.
Thank you. HR Director Schubert? Nothing. And our Interim City Administrator Wasso?
Your new city administrator will be here on the 26th of this month. That is a Monday. We'll work together for a couple days, show him the ropes, and then he's all yours.
Thank you very much.
Can I ask our administrator a quick question,
Yeah,
Mr.
absolutely.
Bevins? Mr. Bevins?
Yes, please.
Can I ask Patrick a quick question?
Yes, please proceed.
Mr. Wasso, you indicated at the last meeting about our committee reports. I'm not quite sure how I understood. I think you wanted us to give more of a report from our past committee activities. Would that be correct?
That is correct. What I will have for your next meeting, taking time to put it together, is a copy of your different agendas that happened within the preceding 2-week period or 3-week period to remind you. And I'm not sure if I'm going to have that in the packet or in front of each of you. So I'm still working through the details, but it's a helpful reminder for you to give an update as what transpired at your specific meetings that you're a liaison to.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Perfect. Next up, item number 11, the Honorable Mayor Bedeau.
Oh my gosh, I don't have much to say other than I appreciate that, Patrick. Reminding us what we've done. We often forget what we've done, and it's important. So, thank you, and also thank you for everything that you've done for us in the last handful of months here. I know dealing with all these knuckleheads is an interesting endeavor. But we appreciate you coming back to do that. Just a heads up from the community standpoint, there is a grant available through Community Action right now for nonprofits and government agencies. So I would recommend all departments of said units to look into that. There's potentials for some stuff within the community that could be of use, but also nonprofits, if you're out there, take a look at that as well. And groups, if you are a member of the community that has something that you would like to do to give back to the community, there is potential for some grant dollars available. Excuse me, sir. I yield my time.
Next up is 12 council committee reports. Let's start on my right, Mr. Sunick.
Yes, keep your thoughts and prayers for the people in Burnsville. It hits home.
Excellent, thank you. Mr. Johnson?
The Economic Development Authority met. James did a nice recap of it. I hope you were all listening.
I was there. I think I even voted on something. If you haven't gone up 6th Street, my wife occasionally accuses me of being not very observant. There's a whole bunch of the new black street lights, and we talked about street lights tonight, and I don't know how long it took us to get to those street lights. About 15 years, and we revisited it and revisited and revisited it, but they really look nice. So I highly recommend a little drive up from Washington to Gregory Park on 6th Street. That's the new divided 6th Street. Mr. O'Day?
As Mr. Johnson just pointed out, the EDA met. James did a great job of telling what we did. We have actually a lot of stuff happening at the EDA that's been a long time coming. So it was a great meeting, and hopefully we get some fruition this year going forward. And thank you, Patrick, for everything you did coming back and filling in, and again for volunteering your time with the negotiations. hopefully we can wrap those up and you're not here for another 14 years or so working on that. Because I believe we had some pretty specific end dates, or not dates, but specific requirements on the end of that, so.
It's pretty open-ended.
It's pretty open-ended, right?
I heard for you.
Until a certain thing happens, so. That's motivation. Thank you, Patrick.
Take us out of the, we're stuck in the toothpaste.
Oh, I don't know if I can help you actually get out of the toothpaste. The landlords group met, and a good chunk were in Florida for some reason. But the county presented, and they are working to come up with a better way for our local landlords and the county services to mesh together, so that people who are on the edge of a crisis or the edge of losing housing don't, and their rent keeps getting paid, which is really in everybody's best interest. So that was promising, and a little ray of hope maybe in all the toothpaste.
Thank you, Mr. Chesak.
Yeah, Mr. Bevins, was Mr. Charpentier on board with us tonight?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm saving him for second to last.
Okay, because I would like to hear if there was something accomplished related to our downtown apartment building at the county end of that.
You
HRA.
got it.
Okay, and then I did want to say I'm glad to hear you find that black streetlights matter. And then also we have caucus coming up on next Tuesday, the 27th, for our Democrat and Republican parties. And it'd be great to see everybody get involved with that for your political party of your choice. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor's got one more thing.
Yeah, Patrick, where were you to remind me of this one? I just want to say congratulations to the Brainerd Warrior Dance Team, state champions. So congratulations to all those fine individuals in their wonderful performance.
Mr. Charpentier from the HRA, I skipped you on staff reports. You heard Mr. Chesak.
He left.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President and members of the council. As you all recall, you did authorize municipal consent for our Crow Wing County HRA Housing Trust Fund a couple of meetings ago. And because that move did go through and was positive, we were able to get the 805 Laurel Street project in front of the Crow Wing County HRA board members for review. They did request funding for that. And at our last meeting last Tuesday, the HRA board did approve the funding request for that. And so what that means is they will have another great opportunity to leverage those funds with the state of Minnesota in the workforce housing program that they are going to be applying for the lion's share of the public financing that they're looking for. And that RFP is due on April 30th. So the timing was very, very opportune for us to get that in front of them, and are excited to try to get that project a little bit closer to the starting line. So we will find out much more after that RFP has been submitted in the end of April, and hopefully finding out on all of that funding by sometime in June or early July.
Thank you, Mr. Charpentier. Apologies for missing you. We are now looking for a motion to adjourn into closed session pursuant to the attorney-client privilege under Minnesota Statutes 13D.05, subdivision 3B, to discuss pending litigation. This is Brainerd versus Baxter on the assessment appeal.
So move.
Motion by Stunek, second by Johnson. Any discussion? Hearing none, we're gonna move as fast as we can into closed session, because I think this is fairly quick. Couple of minutes.
Sit down.
Okay.
If you could stay, we can, this will be
Aye.
I'm
quick.
staying. I just thought I'd stand and stretch, if that's
I
okay.
was- Yeah.
Thanks for
Yeah.
noticing, though.
Yeah, I care about it.